By the spring of 1991, 21-year-old Mariah Carey had scraped her way from struggling wannabe to music's breakout sensation. Her self-titled debut had sold 6 million copies, spawned 4 #1 hits, and garnered 2 Grammy Awards. Fueled by her success, Mariah immediately went to work on her second album, Emotions.
I had this work ethic that I imposed upon myself that was really, really harsh. Because of fear, really, you know, of losing something and going back to where I started from. So I got on this thing where it was like, do another album, one for every single year.
This drive extended to an attempt by the star to regain some of the control she felt she'd surrendered on her debut album.
The thing is, my demos were really good. Some of those demos were better than what the record ended up sounding like. Maybe because it was simpler, there wasn't so much production.
But despite her misgivings, it was clear Mottola was running the show.
He was definitely somebody who was used to being in control and used to being the boss. The first video that she did, he didn't like that she was a little too sexy in it, and that's one of the reasons why the video was scrapped and they filmed another video.
If any creative disagreements happened, it was like because as a young person, I wanted to be able to express what I liked.
Despite, or perhaps because of the sparks created by their creative tug-of-war, Mariah and Mottola's romance blossomed, and once Mottola's divorce became final, spilled into the public eye. The news made headlines.
Here we have an ingenue, very sexy, very pretty and talented, and the man behind the curtain who's pretty much pulling the strings of her career and making her a star.
It was sort of scandalous. He was 20 years older than she was. He'd been married for 20 years and had children.
That's definitely good gossip.
With the media focused on Mariah's relationship with Mottola, Emotions was released on September 17, 1991. The title track would become Mariah's 5th consecutive Billboard chart topper, making her the first artist to achieve this feat. But reviews were mixed, as some critics began to wonder if there was any substance behind the voice.
And on a critical level, there was a sense in which, you know, her singing was almost more of an athletic gift than something that she brought a soulfulness to. You're more impressed by it than you are moved by it.
Reeling from the critical backlash and a 50% drop in sales, Mariah also felt increasing pressure from critics who continued to question her natural singing ability when she once again refused to tour.
There was speculation as to whether she really was that great a singer. You had Whitney Houston out there also, you know, people would be like, well, she's no Whitney. The idea was that she was kind of this studio-made star.
Tiring of critics' insinuations that she couldn't sing live, Mariah booked an appearance on MTV's Unplugged on March 16, 1992.
Unplugged was really like the first concert I'd ever done. And people were waiting to hear, like, can she do this? So that's why there was that type of pressure. I was nervous because I have so many high notes hit, and it really requires me to isolate myself and just be on vocal rest and not speak and be like in a well-humidified room and sleep as much as possible because people want to come hear me sound right. I'm not going to go out there and be a mess.
Mariah's performance was far from a mess. The result was so powerful that Sony released Mariah Carey Unplugged as an EP on June 2nd. It would go on to sell 6 million copies.
She had a lot riding on her shoulders, but once she got out on stage, she blossomed. She was able to prove unequivocally that she had the goods. It was calculated risk, but one that obviously paid off with tremendous dividends.
That same month, with their romance in full bloom, 23-year-old Mariah married 43-year-old Mottola in a lavish ceremony in upstate New York.
Tommy Mottola and Mariah Carey were a great show business couple in a very classic mold. There was a fairy tale aspect as well. Their wedding was incredibly glamorous. The guest list was just like the who's who of Hollywood and the music industry. I mean, Barbra Streisand was there, Billy Joel was there, Robert De Niro was an usher. There was so much media coverage, and Mariah in this beautiful white gown like Princess Diana. She had this
Vera Wang dress that was $25,000, and this 28-foot-long train where it required 6 people to carry it. I mean, she had 50 flower girls, and it cost around $500,000. So it was really Mariah's initiation into this life of luxury.
The couple moved to an opulent mansion in Bedford, New York. It was a vast departure from the life she'd known most of her life.
There was a huge jump between where she came from to where she ultimately ended up. This incredible home in Bedford, 65 rooms, a lake, horses. The name of the house was Storybook Manor.
Having been a working class girl and grown up in not the most stable environment, to having this incredible opulence and this life of celebrity for a girl who was in her 20s, you could tell it was something she was still adjusting to.
On August 31st, 1993, Mariah released Music Box, her 3rd studio album and the first in which Sony allowed her the role as lead producer. Music Box would become Mariah's biggest-selling album with worldwide sales of 32 million. Perhaps bolstered by the success of the first album she could truly call her own, a rift began to develop between the singer and the man who is credited with launching her into superstardom. At a personal and professional crossroads, Mariah was about to find herself, for the first time in her life, on her own.
It got to a point where I had to go.